Welcome to the T-Row Show. This is your host, Keith. We got Tony and Stu. Say hello, guys.
Afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, we've got a lot to cover today, like we normally do. So we'll get started. We've got a couple of things that are interesting as far as dealing with some crazy stuff, folks. We were on the we were in the middle of doing some nationalization, and we ended up looking at a particular map we thought was interesting. Did a little more research on it, and realized that this thing was set up fairly well for some foreigners. So let's take a look. We got the Sussex County, and we're not picking on these guys. We don't have any issues with them at all. We just saw something that was actually interesting. The way that we saw it from a top point of view, the way that their town was set up. And here we've got the United Way, Northern New Jersey. Got the New Jersey Herald here. Got Lakeland Bank right next to the county sheriff, Superior Court, county jail. And you got the funeral home here, which was kind of ironic. Newton Pharmacy, First Presbyterian Church, and Christ Church here. So there's two churches. I don't know what this building is. It wasn't marked. But I started looking up some things, and everything looked normal on the surface until you saw United Way of Northern New Jersey. And from what was found, it appears as if the United Way of Northern New Jersey is what runs this whole system. This is what we're suspecting. I can't prove this. There will be people will probably have to, they'll see paperwork and stuff like that. What we think, or what I think is going on, is the Superior Court does their thing, brings in their fines and all that, ends up over in Lakeland Bank, and United Way of Northern New Jersey has an account here at Lakeland Bank, and that's how it's being funneled over there. So money coming from here goes to Lakeland Bank, ends up being a charity, and this is where it ends up, and this is where it's invested. The money that is brought in here, and I would imagine everybody in here has a piece of it. So you get a hold of some doctors that, if they need business, to get a hold of some doctors and they start prescribing pain pills. Here's Newton Pharmacy right here. So they could get a hold of Newton Pharmacy and say, hey, we need some business. Newton Pharmacy starts pushing out some pain pills. People get addicted to them, end up committing crimes, end up going to the Superior Court, taking whatever money they have, or tax money for holding them in the jail, ends up over at Lakeland Bank and into the United Way of Northern New Jersey, under the blessing of the First Presbyterian Church and Christ Church right here. So,
and I note there's a nice little multi-lane roadway between the pharmacy and the doctor's office.
True. And there's also the Smith Kraken Funeral Home right there.
For the ODs.
That's right, because they have a bunch of OD issues in every major town.
Yeah.
So when you see it from a larger point of view, it's different, because it's a much bigger picture than people would imagine. Okay, we've got share screens here. This is the United Way's. This is their financial statements. I noticed something that was actually interesting here. I went on page 23 and it was corporate bonds. This is how much they did in corporate bonds. Why is the United Way involved in corporate bonds, folks? Government agency notes, right here, equity securities, bond funds, U.S. Treasury notes, and corporate stocks to the tune of 32 million. So the money that's brought in is invested into these markets here, and I would imagine probably funneled back to the map you just saw, all the people there. I'm sure somebody's done some research on this. They probably have a whole lot more than we have sitting here. But they've got custodial funds here, U.S. government agency notes. So why is a United Way of Northern New Jersey investing in U.S. government agency notes? Where are they getting that money from? It isn't just from dues, folks. People that pay in on their monthly dues that are a part of United Way. But if you look at their website, I mean, it really shows an amazing, you know, it's a great thing. And they have some really good people here. And I'm not saying the people on the ground and that are actually working with the United Way are bad people. That's not what I'm saying here. You've got a lot of stuff going on in the background with the United Way, because the United Way ended up being United Way Worldwide. So is the United Way investing in all these types of agencies, treasury notes, and all this other stuff as a tax exempt organization? And this is how they're funneling money through, which is all these charities that they're putting money through. That's all. That's the only point I was making. That the very interesting how these guys operate. And there's been, since there are all these bond funds, corporate stocks, and all this other stuff, why are they involved in corporate stocks? Why is a charity involved in this? Aren't people supposed to be getting, you know, giving United Way money, and then isn't that supposed to be going towards charitable purposes? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. I really don't know. I've never really run a charity like that. But as far as I understand it, isn't that supposed to be giving to the community and the people? Stu, Tony?
That's what I thought. That's what I thought a charity was.
I mean, isn't
right? You donate $15 to the local charity, and it's supposed to buy a can of corn for somebody, not corporate stocks.
Yeah, or U.S. government agency notes or bonds and things like that. I don't, you know, that's what blows my mind about this. And they just put it right out in the open, you know. And they changed the name to Worldwide, and when they did that, it became what they call a global type thing. They have what they call a supranational entity. So what's a supranational entity doing in a real small town? And where is all this 33 million that was invested going to? Why isn't this money going towards people in need? Why is it being invested? That's, I mean, you know, that's my question. They even have a level 1 and level 2. Is that like I don't know, a title? It's like, man, I'm on level 1, man. Is it like a membership? If you get level 1 membership if you do this, but you get level 2 membership if you do this. And notice that the numbers are a little bit lower in level 2. So maybe that's it. But that's a lot of money funneled into government. I guess maybe, what do? The government needs, or, you know, government of the United States, Manhattan Island, they need money. So I guess they're a charity organization. I don't know. Maybe they need charity. I mean, that's $28 million, man.
Maybe they need charity. That's funny.
It doesn't come in collective trusts. I mean, look at this, man. And this U.S. Treasury notes things, maybe this is where they're funneling and keeping everything afloat by buying bonds from the U.S. Treasury. So all that money is being floated back through. So all the fines they bring in and all the tax money they bring in for these private prisons could be going towards this, and this is how people get paid. This is why politicians become millionaires.
So it almost seems like people are donating to these charities just to be kept as slaves.
Well, apparently it's been used against them to collect more. In other words, you say maybe 80% of the money that they bring in goes back towards collections and collecting more money. So you can easily make up some serious crimes, okay, from people that are well-to-do, and all the money that goes in ends up going into the United Way, into a global type system that seems to be propping up the U.S., that economy, Manhattan Island and that economy, like as if it needs to be propped up, and could be funneled all around for propaganda. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that could be happening here. It's just very amazing that the United Way, and its propaganda is really good. I mean, you go to their sites, you would never believe that these guys are involved in any kind of corporate bonds or anything like that. I just thought the money that was brought in needed to go towards charitable causes, if for lack of a better term.
It seems like United Way found a way to make a non-profitable profitable.
Right, and it's amazing what you see and looking at all this stuff, because there's some big numbers here. And not that we care that they're making a lot of money. Nobody really cares about that. If an organization is actually doing the right thing and the money is actually going towards disaster relief or some kind of relief, that's fine, no problem. I just don't understand why it's going into these corporate bonds and things like that. I don't get that. And I'm sure somebody will definitely let us know. And it's all being done under the watchful eye. This came to us yesterday. Can you guys see this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
First time I've done that. Usually I have to stop sharing and come back, but it flipped right over to it. That's good. It's being done under the watchful eye of attorneys representing the government of the United States. And lo and behold, there's attorneys in that court, and there's attorneys that own the bank, by the way. I checked that out. The attorneys also, I think they own maybe doctors own the pharmacy. Who knows? I haven't checked that one out. But they pretty much run the whole doodad. And this came in from the PAGs this week. They found this. This is interesting. It's to uphold the high standards for the federal judiciary and for attorneys representing the government of the United States. Now, why is this so bad here? Okay. Now, people always look at that and go, well, yeah, attorneys always represent and stuff like that. Well, you can't have a constituency that votes for your office holders, and then those office holders turn around and say, oh, no, this private organization over here represents us. You can't put a wedge between the candidate that was put in office and the voter. So there can't be any third-party intervener there. And that's where this issue comes in. And what am I doing here? I'm actually showing you the foundation of the Federal Bar Association. And this was done in 1957, and the name of this corporation is the Foundation of the Federal Bar Association. And apparently, when all the attorneys got in, they approved it for themselves, on behalf of themselves, August 24th, 1954. And this was just after the 1947 Bar Treaty. And it became what they call a federal corporation. So the Bar Association is a foundation. And it's also a corporation right here. And they can receive and behold by bequest, device, gift, grant, purchase, lease, or otherwise, either absolutely or jointly, with any other person or persons or corporation, for any of the purposes herein after set forth, any property, real, personal, or mixed, or any undivided interest therein, to convey, sell, and otherwise dispose of such property, and to invest, reinvest, administer, and deal with the same in such manner as the judgment of the directors of the corporation will best promote the purposes of the corporation, but without and free from restriction applicable to trustees or trust funds. I don't think a lot of people, Stu, you want to explain them what I'm actually showing them here?
Fraud.
They run a private corporation that represents a so-called government. Now, this kind of backs up what we were saying, right? In other words, last week we were talking about the Bank of New York Mellon and Manhattan Island basically created their own charter in 1789 called the United States of America, which was a company from the Virginia Company. And who's being represented here are the bankers of Manhattan Island. That's who the foundation of the Federal Bar Association is actually representing. When they say that they represent the attorneys representing the government of the United States, we're not saying that. I'm not saying that's bad or good. I don't care. Okay, this doesn't affect us and affect American nationals or this government at all. What we're saying is it's when people believe, okay, that that's their government, which we're about to show you here in a second. Go ahead and pop that up, Tony, here in a minute. Get ready to share on that what you just found.
Okay.
When people actually believe that that has something to do with them, and this is owned and operated. Okay, you have the government of the United States, which is a very small group of people, okay, in Manhattan Island, and they're Dutch and under the Netherlands, and they created their own little federal, okay, they call it a federal government, but they chartered their own company called the United States of America, lowercase t, in 1789, and they have attorneys representing them to everybody else.
Yeah, and that's cool. The fraud is I should have been more specific. That they allow people to believe that they're subject to it, and then they take their money and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. It will give you a story. You have Louis Caspey-Shirt. Okay, this was back in the day. This was back in the 1911. He goes and gets a hold of this printing company, and his tactic was he was a French monarch that owned all the railroads over here. If anybody's that wants to look him up, he's Louis Caspey-Shirt. And what he did was he put a monopoly on chameleon paper. Okay, it was the first type of paper that could really accept ink and all that kind of thing at the time. So the guy that created it, he went ahead and loaned him some money to develop more stuff, then defaulted on the loan. He took over the company and then leased it back to the owner. Then turned around, made a few phone calls over to Washington, D.C. and said, we need a law that monopolizes the chameleon paper so nobody else will take it from us. So let's just make it federal law that the chameleon paper is off limits. And they did. And that's all these guys are doing. They go to their, they go to their representatives and they say, we need this law to create a monopoly on something.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they're teaching everybody in the public schools that monopolies are bad, and you get in trouble if you pursue monopolies, when in fact, the powers that be, that's what they create endlessly, or attempt to create.
Right. You have they want a monopoly on marijuana, so they make it illegal. Marijuana is illegal, so that's how they get their monopolies on it. But the state laws say, okay, yeah, we're going to make it to where marijuana is legal. Oh, but if federal, no, federal says it's illegal. So if you don't have a license in the state, then the federal is going to come in and get you. They're the bad guys. So it's good cop, bad cop thing. And they essentially, by making it illegal, they create a monopoly on marijuana. They say that they have full jurisdiction over marijuana. That's monopoly. So
and that can be applied to all other products and services. That it's just not marijuana, right? Remember when you discovered that the glue on the sticker?
Right, a patent.
Yeah.
What he's talking about, folks, is there's a sticker that you guys get every year when you renew your license. Every birthday, you got to pay your lease agreement, and they have a sticker that goes on there. Well, I checked out the stickers and I saw patent number, so I went and looked up the patent number, and the whole thing is patented. Private, we have it on rainoftheheavens.com. If you go to patents, people are being forced to use patent material, and the stickers were all patented, even the glue.
Yep, even the glue.
The ink was patented. The whole thing was all patented. So whenever, go ahead.
I was just gonna summarize. So they make you register your vehicle. They make you get a yearly or 2-year sticker for that vehicle. Somebody owns that plastic, the rights to the plastic used for the sticker. Somebody owns the rights to the manufacturing process of the glue, and you're paying for that privilege. Nobody else can come in and glue the thing on, because that would be a violation.
Patent violation. This is where I was thinking that the expansion of the driver's license could be expanded into a license to use the sticker, since it is somebody else's patented property.
In other words, you're not getting a driver's license to drive, really, even though it's called a driver's license. What it really represents is the right to the sticker.
That's what I was. I didn't find a whole lot of evidence on it, but it does make sense. Okay, when you understand how these guys think, you can see it. Yeah, that would make sense. They would think that because the driver's license, no intangible property was transferred for you to be actually licensed to drive. So then they always say, well, it's your right to get a license. Okay, yeah, all right, let's play with word games here. And so I started thinking, well, then who has the license for the patent on the sticker? And that also includes the plate and everything else. So I started, getting into that. It was like, we put a whole newspaper article out on that thing, and to see if anybody would see it, and maybe possibly find a separate definition of driver. But we went ahead and resolved that problem anyways, because our DOT transfers, accepts the transfer of intangible property to use the public highway, and then it's licensed back to you under an agreement that you can renew every year, or you can get out of it. You're still able to use the public highways as a matter of right under a national ID. That's no problem either. A lot of South American countries do that, by the way. They have national IDs. They don't have driver's license. And a driver's license, like for an ID card, that's what the international side calls de facto. That's a de facto form of ID. Believe it or not, they classified it as that. But anyways, go ahead, Tony. Since we were talking about this, now that you know this, okay, now that you know to uphold the standards of fiduciary, federal judiciary, and for attorneys representing the government of the United States of America and all that. So we know that there's a federal corporation, Federal Bar Association, that's actually a corporation representing another corporation, okay? Which was the 1789 Constitution. That was another corporation. So this is how mixed up people get. I'll go ahead and stop sharing if you want to show people how messed up some people are. Tony.
Okay, can you see this?
Oh, hold on 1 second. There you go. I'll go ahead and mute out.
Okay, well, first, I'll go to the YouTube video that they put out, and it's called, this particular one says, May 5th, welcome to the government of the United States of America. Notice the lowercase t in the United States of America. And if you scroll down in their description a little bit, it says here, this is a transitional government website. It will be much different after the war against white supremacy is over. So they have this link here, and the pictures are kind of large, and the website is a little intense, so it takes a while for it to load. But here is their website, and it has all the corporate seals, and it has the U.S. Department of Justice address, and what is this? What is this particular website called? It says Official Government of the United States of America. And if you look down on the right side, they also use the nation of the government of the United States of America. And you can see that here where it says Government of the United States of America with the uppercase T. And they show the address as being the 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue address.
Yeah, go down a little bit. They have a seal. Go down to the seal. It's funny. There it is. There it is. See the seal? Yeah, go up a little bit. That one right there. No, this one with the lion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Can you see it now?
Yeah, apparently there's a Queen Mary and President of the United States of America. That's what they say who she is?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, folks, this is a scam. Just letting you know this is a scam. Notice it says WordPress.com. That's a free WordPress site. Okay, so this is a scam. Somebody threw this together, and they're trying to recharter the corporation of 1789 on behalf of the Dutch. This is a scam. Don't fall for this. This is a joke.
Yeah, they even got an SSL certificate, to give it a little bit more.
Yeah. But this is a basic, in other words, this isn't even their website. Anybody can do a WordPress.com website.
Yeah, I think, Tony, over on the right, if you scroll down, you've got that, the reference to...
Yeah, keep going way down. The reference to what?
To the Queen Mary. I thought that's where it was in the right hand.
Yeah, I saw that. You just got to keep going down a little bit faster.
It's lower. Okay.
Yeah. And that might be it right there. I don't think it's coming through because I remember seeing those pictures.
There it is.
There. Okay. All right. Got it.
And I can't read the fine print, but is that the one that references the? Oh, maybe not.
Yeah, this one doesn't.
And they got
there's
a lot of pretty seals. I mean, but none of them are valid.
Yeah, you can see here they have a lot of information, and it's not what people think it is. Yeah, where did that go?
The Queen Mary thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, they put well, people can go to the website if they want.
Yeah, go check it out, folks.
Okay, it says the teaching of white supremacy, what is that called? Remain strong, yeah. So, we're going to show you here in a minute why this is such BS, but and why this is basically propaganda. But you have this whole site is based on white supremacy. It's a racist website. That's all it is. And there's a lot of work and a lot of statements being made here. I mean, someone did a lot of work on this thing. It was unbelievable. It must have took a couple of months if they were working on it every day.
Yeah, and they also put just kind of random videos of just random pictures or video. I mean, the latest one here it is, May 9th. But it's just stuff like this, just pictures.
Yeah, I think they're trying to create some kind of mysticism or what do you call that? Mystery, you know, like it's important and it's about to come, and they're trying to, you know,
Mystique.
I don't know. It's funny though. It's funny how they're when we see stuff like that, it's just.
I think there's gonna be a movement to increase that as this government becomes more organized, becomes more stable. I think you're going to find that there's going to be look. They gave themselves permission to propagandize. So what's the next move? The next move is to counter stuff that we're doing via propaganda. So you're going to see misleading. I mean, we already know we can document it if we really had to, but we already know that, probably what you guys, 75% of the Liberty stuff is sanctioned misinformation. I would expect that over the next year, the next 2 years, that there's going to be an increase in these type of websites to throw people off, to confuse them, to keep them bewildered as to who's who. That's part of what their overall game plan entails.
Well, that's how they've kept in charge for so long, because they're able to put this propaganda up, and when it comes out being the truth, then people don't know the difference. And if you haven't really studied this and you're busy working and take care of your family and everything else, you're just going to see it on the surface. You're not going to really look into it. Like we said, who looks at a map and sees United Way right there, right next to a courthouse? It just happens to be a worldwide organization that invests in stocks and bonds.
Right.
All under the guise of charity and exemption.
Right.
You know,
there are two banks.
Yeah, there's a bank or two churches, and all this. I mean, who really goes in and looks at that? And that's why you got the T-Row show. We go look at stuff like that, and then we pass it on. Now, the reason why this is such a joke as far as the white supremacy thing and all that, they do have the white supremacy thing, but that's a lot of what they call self-projection. Okay, in other words, when you're doing something not so good and you're projecting that on somebody else and accusing them of doing it, what you're doing and they're not doing it, that's called self-projection. It's just a psychological term that they use. You're projecting yourself on somebody else, blaming them for what you're doing because you can't handle the responsibility of what you're doing or the liability of what you're doing. And that's really what it's all about. And that's why people that cannot handle liability or responsibility for their own lives will project themselves and what they're doing on everyone else. And it's an extremely violent way to live. So we've got you were watching. I'm going to go over the articles here in just a minute, Stu. But if you want to get your mind into the videos you saw yesterday when dealing with Islam, there was a lot that happened last night on the yesterday at the assembly. There was a lot of motions and a lot of things that were done. That's going to be coming out in the newspaper here pretty soon, on a lot of changes in the that will affect a lot of people. So we did find the problem a long time ago, or actually about 2 weeks ago. Seems like forever for me. And I'm going to show you that where the real problem is. And what we need people to do is, if you want to be a part of this, you're more than welcome to do so, make suggestions and everything else, because it does deal with the original union. And leave them in the comments below on the YouTube page. on what you, and we're only going to take serious comments. Anybody that comes on and just blasts it with stupid stuff, we just delete those. We don't have any time for that kind of stuff. Anything that's non-constructive, in other words, if it doesn't help or actually become a positive change for anyone, we just get rid of it. There's no reason for us to have to put up with people just slandering and slamming and doing hateful comments and all this other stuff. It's just it's unproductive. So, however, on this particular program, which is the 22nd broadcast of the T-Row Show, put your comments below, and this is serious. This is extremely serious that you need to understand that the current status of the union is still currently controlled by the Articles of Association, October 20th, 1774, that were written back then. It will explain enemies of the state. It will explain a lot of these things, okay? Trading with the enemy and all this other stuff, and what the foreign monarchs have had to do, and why they did the Treaty of Versailles, what they had to do in order just to be able to do business here. Because there used to be a union between what they call British America, the colonies, and the Crown, the King of England. The Crown and the King of England are separate, just to let you know. The Crown is just a little mile square little city-state. But the King of England at the time, they were in a union, just like the states of the union today. They were all unionized together. And the Articles of Association is what changed the dynamic of the colonies into states under a union, absent the British Crown or the King of England. And since this particular set of articles has not been amended in any way, they still remain in full force effect. And so since this is within the chain of title of the government of the United States of America today, they're going to be amended to change the structure and the dynamics of the union and how it operates outside internationally and with other countries under the law of nations. So the wording in red was the original wording of this, and in blue are some of the suggested amendments. So the PAGs have actually been working on this for quite like the last couple of weeks, and they have a bunch of other stuff that's I'll wait for my the internet connection is stable again. Okay, they have a bunch of stuff that they've added to this to change the dynamics of the union itself. Because when you have a union, you have articles of association. That's just the way it works. And the union itself has never been addressed, because people, what they did was automatically assume that the 1789 corporate constitution, or a corporate charter basically, was the terms and conditions of the union, which it wasn't. It never has been. So this is where we are. Now, there's one thing about that white supremacy thing that I wanted to address. In 2, where it says in the red, we have said over and over again that under the Articles of Confederation, slavery was abolished, and it was. We will neither import nor purchase any slave imported after the 1st day of December next, after which time we will wholly discontinue the slave trade. This was done in 1774. So the Civil War was to push back against what had already been outlawed in the Union. And we'll neither be concerned in it ourselves, nor will we hire our vessels, nor sell our commodities, our manufactures, to those who are concerned in it. So who do you think, if the ships of the country under the Articles of Confederation, the United States of America, were not doing any of this, who do you think were? there's only one other finger to be pointed up towards Manhattan Island, the Dutch, working with their District of Columbia and Spain, the Queen of Spain at the time, or Spain itself. The Queen didn't come in until later on, around Amistad. She was like 12 years old, and fairly not concerned with slavery.
So that they used the Virginia Trading Company to do that?
Yeah, it's always been them. They've always had slaves. And it was under Islam that really started pushing it. They're the ones that had a lot of dealings with the East India Trading Company. It was back when Islam was in shipping, and they were sinking United States ships. They were sinking our ships. And this was 1778, I believe, or no, 1787 or 1788? I can't remember. I'll have to go back and read that again. But at any rate, that's why they had to push the religious freedom statute in Virginia to get away from Islam at the time, by the way. That's just an offset. But anyways, back to this. So what happened was, with which His Majesty's American subjects are oppressed, and having taken over our most serious deliberation, the state of the whole continent, find that the present unhappy situation of our affairs is occasioned by a ruinous system of colony administration adopted by the British ministry about the year 1763, evidently calculated for enslaving these colonies, and with them the British Empire. In prosecution of which system various acts of Parliament have been passed for raising revenue in America, for depriving the American subjects in many instances of the constitutional trial by jury. See, that was already done. That was in the colonies, the trial by jury. That wasn't some magical, great, wonderful thing that happened in 1789. That was already there. And exposing their lives to danger by directing an illegal trial beyond the seas. So what they were doing was having trials overseas, and then coming up with the 4 crimes alleged to have been committed in America. Okay, so you had prosecutions going on over in England, and they were bringing him over here and saying, "Oh, this guy's a criminal and he's sentenced to death." They're going, "For what? We didn't even know what was going on." It says in prosecution of the same system, several late, cruel, and oppressive acts have been passed respecting the town of Boston, Massachusetts Bay, and also act for extending province of Quebec. Okay, so they were getting pretty upset at the time, which they probably had every right to do. Okay, so what they did was they came into a non-consumption and non-exportation agreement, faithfully adhered to, will prove the most speedy, effectual, and peaceful measure, and therefore we do for ourselves and the inhabitants of the several colonies, whom we represent, firmly agree and associate under this the sacred ties of virtue, honor, and love of our country. See, when it says love of our country, it lets you know that from and after the first day of December next, we will not import any British America from Great Britain or Ireland. Any goods, wares, or merchandise whatsoever, or from any other place, any such goods, wares, or merchandise as shall have been exported from Great Britain or Ireland, nor will we, after that day, import any East India tea. So you think we're just making stuff up on the East India Trading Company? It's in the books. From any part of the world, nor any molasses, syrups, panales, coffee, or pimento from the British plantations or from Dominica, nor wines from Madeira or the Western Islands, nor foreign indigo. Okay, and this was all under the East India Trading Company. This is what the Dutch were involved with, and this is where they got all of this stuff. Okay, so folks, this was never amended. No one ever amended this after because this sparked off the Declaration of Independence, and then it went into Revolutionary War. That's when the Continental Congress was there through the Revolutionary War. Then it ended up being the Continental Congress ended up being the United States and Congress assembled under the Articles of Confederation of 1781. Okay, so this all happened fairly quickly. And they never went back and changed these articles. So even to today, Great Britain and all these other countries, or Great Britain and the Dutch East India Trading Company and the British East India Trading Company that are bringing a lot of these wares in to the country are still considered illegal.
Incredible. Incredible.
If you don't know, if you don't believe me, come in and read some of this stuff, because they're still talking about East India tea right here. And we got some other stuff in here where they cannot. Here, let's go into games. Here it is. Okay, everyone knows you can't do cockfighting. Why is that? Nobody knows why you can't do that. You just can't do cockfighting. Why do you have to have gambling on a boat? Why can't you have it on land in the States? You can have it on land with the Indian nations and the reservations, but you can't have it on the land in the States. Why is it that your entertainments, like football and baseball and all that, why are they all owned by, I've got an echo here, guys, just letting you know. Why are they all owned by a 501c3 religious organization? The NFL is a religious organization. It's considered a church. Go look it up. If you don't believe me, go look it up. It's a church. They even noticed everybody of that, I think, on one of the ball games. So that being said, the reason why it is because we will, in our several stations, encourage frugality, being frugal, okay, economy and industry, and promote agriculture, arts, and the manufacturers in this of this country. Now, it said there of this country. Remember, I made mention before of the love of our country. This was the original Declaration of Independence. They did it with a union. This is when the union itself became independent of Great Britain. So when I said for the love of this country, or love of our country, this is when they actually created the country. It was under the Articles of Association of 1774. Especially that of wool, and will discountenance and discourage every species of extravagance and dissipation, especially all horse racing, all kinds of games, cockfighting, exhibitions of shoes, plays, and other expensive diversions and entertainments. And on the death of any relation or friend, none of us or any of our families will go into any further mourning dress than a black crepe or ribbon on the arm or hat for gentlemen. And apparently that was a big deal back then. I have not done any study on that and why that was significant. I'm sure somebody else will and bring it up on what that actually meant. But this is why you can't do any gambling. This is why NFL is a church. See, because of these articles, because people believe there's no law here, there is actually law, and the foreigners are actually trying to get around every which way they can these articles of association of the union.
Right, so they can do business.
So they can do business. And the people here are yelling at them saying, you guys keep fighting, you keep doing this. Well, you're the problem. This is what I mean by self-projection. You're projecting yourself on them when you're the one doing it. So these articles are in the process of being amended. And you can put in your comments, and real ones, real suggestions. We're not going to deal with any BS. Real suggestions in the comments, because it's going to be about another week before it gets completed, on what you believe that this forms the union, what you think would be good. Okay? It's so bad for them to do business. They have had to register all their entities in Delaware register it with the DOD to get DOD protection for their companies. That's how hard it is to do business in America.
Yeah, another way you could look at it is that it's difficult to the point where they're forced is a strong word, but they're forced to cut corners and that leads to breaking laws and things like that. That leads to desperate decisions.
Exactly. So go take a look at it. And it doesn't sound like it has really anything to do with you, but it has everything to do with you, the people within the states. No one has been taking care of the union. Well, the government of the United States of America is going to be taking care of the union, and we're going to need comments in the comment section on what you would like to put in there to make it easier to do business in this country. Now, I'm not saying just let Islam in. We're not saying that, okay? But in order to to protect their businesses, it's possible that they think overseas that they're bringing Islam in to protect their businesses and their trade. Why would the Illuminati and all the corporations hire Islam to come into a country? That's a little crazy, unless they have a deal with Islam to protect the companies and protect their businesses, because it's so difficult to do business here in this country. We're going to make it a lot easier for them. Now, more than likely, I'll show you what was changed in the beginning. Instead of this whole being we, His Majesty's loyal subjects, the beginning changes are the Articles of Association for the Union have been long applied for the purpose of perpetual war by and between the monarch's private companies and this union. Trading with the Enemy Act, guys. Coming at you under military war powers, Civil War. What else was it? Yeah, they had Civil War. Then they had emergency war powers, all this kind of junk. The points of view by and between both parties have remained within opposite spheres since the Revolutionary War of 1776. The United States and Congress assembled did not go back and change the Articles of Association. They stayed at war. So everybody comes in and says, well, the Treaty of Paris did that. No, the Treaty of Paris was with their own company. Okay, so you have to see this from somebody else's point of view. Use a little empathy. It says the Union refused to move towards peace and reconciliation by never amending these Articles of Association and having been placed on the shelf collecting dust while the perpetual war continues. The Treaty of Paris of 1784 did not create peace with the King of England and the Union. It created peace by and between the King of England and its company. While the Union remained under these Articles of Association of October 20th, 1774, never minding its status among the family of nations. Therefore, these Articles of Association are hereby amended as follows for the purpose of embracing peace and reconciliation by and between Europe and the Union. Now remember, we're not talking about individual states. So to fix this problem does not mean going and doing a constitutional convention and changing the articles around. That's not fixing the problem. This is exactly what Trump is trying to do, but he's trying to do it by executive order, not realizing that the charter that he's under causes a perpetual military occupation within the states because of these Articles of Association. And this hasn't been finished yet. This is just a draft. So this is what we're working on here. It should be done here in about a week, but comments are absolutely welcome. We need more and more people to take a look at it. It can be amended later if there's an amendment here, but we have to do an initial peace and reconciliation agreement to make the union more acceptable and susceptible to kinder, calmer business. This is how you create jobs. You can't keep a perpetual war going and still continue to have peace and prosperity. Okay? There is no peace and prosperity when the very union itself is still at war. So let's change the subject just a little bit and go over to what Stu was witnessing. You were telling me the other day about some of the things that we're going to have.
I just spent a little time on YouTube, and I don't have anything prepared. I'll just mention it. It's a concern. In fact, it was very eye-opening for me, which is why I brought it up to you. We talk a lot about the Muslim invasion, and that's a correct term to use. So I happened to find myself on YouTube, and I followed a video, and then another video, and then another, and it ended up being probably in the course of an hour, I ended up watching, roughly 10, 12, 14 videos, whatever it was. Most of them are 3-4 minutes. And it was predominantly focused on Europe. France stands out. There was some German ones, and there was some Swedish ones. And the point I want to make is that they're in big trouble. The civil populace is being assaulted on a regular basis. You've got again and again, these videos were giving you examples of people unable to walk down the street, returning from the library or returning from grocery shopping or whatever the errand happens to be, without running into gangs of Muslim immigrants. And that, by that I mean, 4, 5, they walk around town in groups of 4, 5, 7, 9, and probably in half the videos I witnessed, they were armed, not with guns, but with clubs, with rods, wood sticks, metal bars, and it was shocking to see that. And there's commentary added to it that it's kind of a regular thing, and Europe's in trouble. Particularly those countries there, I think they're in trouble. Now we're not getting a lot of that in the news. They want to keep that hush hush, but the civil society over there is in trouble.
Yeah, and if any of those videos get banned, folks, just go over to VidTower, VidTower.com, open up an account and upload them there.
That's a good idea.
They will not be shut down over there. So VidTower, VidTower.com. And you can upload it there. It won't be removed and it won't be shut down. So if there's any videos that you guys want to put up that need to be put out, just open up an account and you're welcome to do so. It's not a problem.
A good way to get a dose of reality out to the folks.
Right, because it won't be censored there.
Mm-hmm.
The whole being, wasn't there a guy that had a gun who turned around?
There was story. Yeah, there was one video that stood out that I did reference specifically to Keith the other day. Was a guy, him and his buddy were it looked like they had book bags, so it looks like they were returning from the library or something, but that's speculation on my part, but they had some sort of bags, as I recall. And they ended up coming down this sort of a well-used alleyway. And there was a group of 5 or 6 Muslim immigrants there. And immediately as they walked by, confrontation occurred, and there was verbal jousting. And the 2 Frenchmen, it was in France, if I didn't mention it, kind of stood up for themselves, but, then realized that, they were outnumbered, and a couple of the immigrants had bats. So they kept on walking, and they got followed. And this goes on for a little little bit. Eventually, the one of the Frenchmen realizes that one of the guys with the bats is now within 15 feet of him rather than 35, 40 feet with the rest of his gang members. And the French guy turns around and actually has to pull a gun out, and then the guy with the bat backs off and rejoins his crowd 30 feet away, and the confrontation ends somewhat peacefully at that point. But that's kind of where you're at here, or at least in France and Sweden. Sweden's got there's another quick example of one that I remember was Sweden's actually gotten to the point where they have vigilantes, and they've got masked guys. They throw on the masks, 15, 20 of them, and they go around in airports and public places, and they crack heads. They take on immigrants just walking down the street. So it goes both ways, the violence I'm talking about, because the natives, so to speak, are getting fed up, and the immigrants aren't assimilating, and it's tense. Look into that, because they're trying to create that here, in my opinion.
Right. And if you have anybody that thinks that statements like that, or you're talking about Islam or whatever, go back and look under what Thomas Jefferson did in 1778, I believe, or 1786 or whatever it was. He created a statute for religious freedom based on what they had learned about Islam at the time. In dealing with ships, they used to shoot down, or they used to sink ships of the United States of America, and they even had to pay them a ransom and everything to keep them from doing it. That's the first time they were introduced to Islam. So that's where the religious freedom comes from. It didn't come from the First Amendment. That's not where it derived from. It came from there. And if you don't like us saying anything about Islam, first of all, I know that you guys don't care. I don't care what people like or don't like as far as that's concerned. However, if there are women that think that this is racist and you're just doing this and these are just real peaceful people and blah, 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 you want to do that, go get a burqa. And I'm serious about that. They're $25. You can buy them online. Go wear one for a week and see what that's like. Put it on every time you stay at the house. Number one, stay at your home. Number two, you can't go out unless your brother or your husband or your father goes with you. And when
you can't drive.
You cannot drive. So put your driving abilities away. You can't go anywhere. And when you do go out, put your burqa on. And do that as an experiment for a week. And I guarantee you won't last 3 days. But go ahead.
Yeah, and the point's well made. I can enhance it a little. I think I've got a recollection of some of these videos where some natives in whatever country made that exact point. Except it was without the burqa. It was that, hey, we have to escalate our behavior against these immigrants. In other words, they're justifying some of the violence, some of the attacks out of self-defense, because their women are being accosted at bus stations and cafeterias and things like that. They're being felt up. They're being verbally assaulted, told that they've got to, dress appropriately, et cetera, by these immigrants. It's crazy.
Yeah, what he means by felt up, the guy just walks up and grabs the breasts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, he just walks up to you and just starts grabbing and feeling you up.
Yeah, because you don't have, as a woman, you don't have any rights to object to it.
I saw an article yesterday about the LGBT community protesting against Islamophobia, which I thought it was kind of funny because, I don't think they know that they will probably be the first ones on the chopping block if if Islam takes over.
Literally on the chopping block. Literally on the chopping block.
Yeah.
That's the funny part about it. They're the first ones to die. If Islam gets a hold of this country, they're the first ones to go. They don't understand that. I don't know why they don't realize that that's what will happen to them.
Indeed, it will.
There was one in Iraq that was thrown off a building.
Yep.
It was either Iraq or Iran. They went and tossed him off a building. Why? Because the guy was gay. So why are you on a suicide mission, which is exactly what it is, calling everybody Islamophobic when you're the first to go? So it doesn't make any sense. It's crazy. And what was that one statement? I have freedom of speech to trash this country and push and praise Islam where I don't have any freedom of speech or something like that. Remember that statement?
Yeah.
I got exposed to that. Mm-hmm.
But at any rate, it's crazy thinking. And folks, we're going to try to fix it with this Articles of Association and Union document. Free to make comments, free to make contributions to it, and if it's already covered, it'll be in there. The PAGs are doing a pretty good job on making sure that the wording's right, and they're looking at. They said they were about half done last night. So when it was introduced to the National Assembly. So at any rate,
I do want to add. Here, let me hold on.
what's that, Tony?
Sorry about that. I did want to add that you've been hearing us talk about you can contribute to these articles of association, and it's really very significant because this is a way that people can kind of contribute to the government in a way that they can actually see the results right away. And so it's highly encouraged that you participate and come up with some ideas that you might see in the Articles of Association, and you can say that you contributed to that.
Right, and if you don't know which ones we're talking about, it's October 20th, 1774. You can get a copy anywhere on the internet. Just go look at it. You can get a copy anywhere. A lot of it's been repealed, some already that doesn't really apply to today, and it really needs to be updated. But anyways, we need some suggestions because this is forming the union, and this is how you want to be represented to the rest of the world through this union. How the world sees you, so we can stop a lot of this self-projection and denial that we're not. We need to get rid of that stigma that you're not business friendly. Major problem there. Highly misrepresented in a lot of ways. And I know we got some good people out there. I know we've got some American-made products, and I know that the reasons why a lot of these other countries don't want to do business here. I get it, and we're going to change that. So thank you for listening to the T-Row Show. I hope you learned something today, and we'll see you next week. And if you guys want to say goodbye.
Thanks for your time, folks. Have a productive week.
Talk to you next week.